Hello, hello. Cool. So, thank you everyone for turning up again for another London Dev Meetup. It's my pleasure to host yet another Optimizely gathering where we can talk about everything that we love about Optimizely. Today we have some amazing speakers in the community from Optimizely from Cloudflare, so it should be a really good session. We've got the agenda, which is, so we have the Wi-Fi that you can connect to. The QR codes don't work, so you have to connect directly, so be aware of that. Then we've got dinner and drinks coming out at 7:35. And then the kick out is at 10 p.m. So just going to quickly go through what the agenda. So we have a little bit of a chat from myself and Mark about the early days and how everything got started. I'm going to be talking about Coveo and customized commerce. Then we have Cloudflare talk from the guys from Cloudflare. Then we have a break, and then afterwards we've got Minesh talking about SaaS. We have Graham talking about some CMS Commerce 15 stuff. We have Simon talking about AI innovation and the new elements of Optimizely and Opal. And then Andy wrapping it up with some building SaaS stuff. So should be quite a thorough one. So just going to start off with a little bit of history. So obviously a lot of people have been working with both Optimizely and Episerver back in the day for a long time now. So we've got some photos of just some of the older days of some good times here of some of the younger crowd. Justin with his lovely Epi suit, etc. A couple of these slides. So a lot of us working with this technology for quite a while. As you can see, the screenshot from what Mark sent me of one of the first. He's going to talk a little bit about this in a second, but of one of the meetup that he started, and then obviously I came and started helping out. Very thank you for inviting me out in that time. So very good. Just a couple of other little slides. The reserved OMVP table, my love of Rick and Morty. A bit of Ascend and Jacob, still looking very fresh-faced.
What happened, Jacob?
Yep, and he met me. And then just a couple of other little things from my time of going to some events and some parties. So I look very happy there. Very cool. So it's been a great time hosting these or co-hosting and then helping drive these for the last 10 years. And a great time. And I'm going to hand over to Mark now to plug in. Did you want to plug your laptop?
I will plug in, yes, please.
Yeah. And just talk a little bit from his side. That's fine.
Do I need that mic? So I guess Scott asked me, because it's 10 years since he took over organising these things, so he asked me just to give a little bit of reflection on the meetups. Oh, look, Jacob's very good at this. I started these ages ago, most of you, in fact, and I'll tell you a few things I've learned along the way. One is recruitment consultants made a lot of money out of these meetups, and I'm still gutted that I didn't realise that. I'll tell you a story around that one. But yeah, that's when I realised. But fundamentally, when I started this, I thought, wouldn't it be great if we all just got together and shared ideas? And it's really nice that 15 years later, 16 years later, 15 years later, we're still doing it. But another metric I had is I didn't want to always organise them because it's quite a lot of effort. And also the strength in community. If you've got a strong community, other people should step forward. And Scott stepped forward 10 years ago and has taken it on to new heights. And I think he's done an incredible job of it, and I really like the fact that I don't have to do it, but I still get invited to come and sort of stand up and talk, which is double whammy as far as I'm concerned. Really today is all about you, Scott, because I do think you are Mr. Optimizely. Your enthusiasm, your passion for the product is incredible, and I think just your ability to help. I know full well if I ever put a question on Slack on Optimizely World, I put it on those forums, but really I'm just asking Scott. I'm just doing it in and you will all know that as well, right? And you will also know that he will answer and normally gives extremely good answers, right? Absolutely. So you will see up here, if I can work out to put this together, some of your colleagues and your boss think it's very worthwhile and agree that we should be celebrating your effort. So we have some little videos to show you from various people around the community in Optimizely. to say thank you, Scott. So let's see if I can make this video work. Should it? Doesn't seem to. Well, there we go.
Oh.
Not that one. Oh, I've ruined it. Should we try that one? Oh, can you hear that? No sound. Hang on. Hang on. Let's try sound.
Gemini.
We haven't got speakers on here, have we? That's the problem. Doesn't seem to. I'll tell you what. "15 years, I've still not worked out to do this." Tell you the time I did an Ascend presentation. There you go, that looks all right, doesn't it? And really mucked up because I tried to do it in remote desktops and it was awful. Jacob. Stop.
He's the
I mean, I can
AV
fill in
guy.
Patrick's words if you want. Don't think I can do that. Who's that one?
10 years of organizing the London Developer Meetup. Hey Scott, I couldn't be in London with you tonight, but there was no way I was letting this one pass without saying something.
Can you hear that?
10 years.
Oh. Jacob, look at this.
Milestone.
I think that's frozen.
I think that is frozen. Yeah. It's not working.
Should we just play these for Scott personally?
Yes, yes, fine. Yeah.
Shall I unplug that?
Yeah.
I can watch it later. Yeah, yeah.
All right, let's try again.
Yeah, speakers is this. So that should
Is it that one or is it that one?
No, that's my thing. Sorry, that's
So it's that one.
Yeah. Okay, well, that.
Did that actually go off when I
Yeah,
unplugged it?
yeah.
It did. This hasn't worked, Mark, has it? All right. Maybe we'll play.
Hey Scott, I couldn't be in London with you tonight.
Scott, come round here.
Okay, I will look at it.
You can all watch Scott watching them.
10 years. 10 years of organizing the London Developer Meetup. That's not just a milestone, that's a legacy. And now, what started out with a
I'll tell you what. And Patrick's really useful. This isn't working. This one. So this is a special video that, Mark, I don't know how you managed to get this one. Scott, you probably saw who this was. Let's go on to that slide. This one might work.
This one might work.
You might hear Alex's voice a bit
Hey
louder.
Scott, I want to say a big thank you from Optimizely to you for being a champion of our technology for the last 10 years as an OMVP, you know, but also organizing the meetups in London. I know this is something you do on the side, you know, because you've got so much time, you know. I just want to say a big thank you to you. That means the world to us, the community. That's what it's all about. The technology keeps on changing, but ultimately it's always about people and community, and you're a great guy, and I would just want to say a big thank you. And I actually have a special guest next to me who also wanted to say a couple of words.
Yes, Scott, you and I go back 10 years ago, back when it was still EMVP, crazy times. Look at us now, still in the same community, technology. I love the master classes, the blog posts, the videos. Keep going.
Keep going, Scott, and thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Scott. Keep going, Scott.
You could have seen that, but thank you.
Did you know that? Did you know about that?
No.
Well, I'll show you again, don't worry. Sorry about that, everyone. That wasn't very good at all, was
Thank
it?
you. Thank you very much. Thank you to all, and thank you for everyone for coming tonight. Very much appreciated.
Who's up first?
Me, yeah.
Over to Scott.
God, fantastic.
Follow that if you can.
Who could follow that? I'm just going to be talking about Coveo. Who cares about search platforms? Yeah.
Scott, I can't get past you.
Sorry.
I'll go sit at the back.
I'm taken aback. What can I say? Yes. Maybe in another 15 years you'll be able to present properly. here. Da-da. Hello? Hello? Cool, wicked. Hello, so for the first talk today from myself, I'm going to be talking about implementing Coveo with Optimizely customized commerce. I'm not going to go too in depth, but I'm basically going to give an overview of the platform, what it offers, a bit about how the project was, and effectively like my experience with it. I didn't actually do any of the work, it was the developers in the team obviously, but you know, guided it, drove it, and can see where it could be a real benefit when it comes to connecting into the Optimizely ecosystem. So you all know me, Scott Reed. And this is my co-principal dreamy consumer, Coco. So she helps me with all the coding. So Coveo project. So basically before the Coveo project started, first off what we needed was we needed to understand what the client wanted. So it started off with a nice big discovery session. I will keep these bits short because they're a little boring, but basically a nice big discovery project where we went through workshops, evaluation and decision making. So the best thing for that was building this big matrix of all the features you want. You know, modern clients, they want to connect their AI search systems, these are more relevancy systems, and understand all of the data they've got, how it's going to be indexed, how it's going to be interpreted, how it's going to be used, and then functional elements, both machine learning and functionality. You know, how queries are going to work, how the system's going to hit there, how the analytics, the engines are going to work, how the machine learning algorithms, etc. are going to work. So we built all of that up, and then we sent it over to vendors. And for a number of vendors, we basically went through, and Coveo came out. One of the caveats with this was, a big one they wanted was conversational search, which is obviously a big deal nowadays. But unfortunately, it's still a beta with Coveo, so we sort of approached it into a couple of different parts that I'll talk about later on. So, Coveo project, what I'm going to go through. Oops, that's the wrong slide. I need to click on that. So, basically, I'm going to talk a little about indexing and what it is, the indexing, how it connects to Optimizely, and then a bit about the system and the technology. I've got quite a few slides, so I need to ramp through quick. So what did we achieve with this? We broke this down into an MVP because we know that some of the conversational features are more complicated. Things like the replacement of product recs were going to be more complicated or take a later date, and we needed to match the functionality as we had it. So we delivered 4 shipped features, indexing, PLP, search and header. We went through 8 sprints, and then we had 3 of our core teams in a loop. And what we also did as a precursor to this was, you know, we wanted to work out the best way of rendering it. Do we render it all on the client side now, or do we do it all in the back end or front end, etc., going from search and navigation? So, you know, we looked at this, whether we do it each way, and we pivoted and landed on a nice hybrid approach for this, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. But before we delve into that, the question is, what exactly is Coveo? So there's effectively 5 building blocks for a Coveo implementation. You've got the sources and the indexes. That's where effectively, as everyone is used to working with search and navigation, graph, whatever, this is pushing your data into those sources. And I'll go a bit more into that in a second, how that works. Then we have query pipelines. So query pipelines are like the rules engine that gets connected into the indexing system and the search system that can take like a gap in between, and you can then adapt what you've got into what your output is. Then we have machine learning. These are all the models, machine learning models, the relevancy engine, things like recommendations. They connect to usage analytics very heavily because they need the analytics data. And then we have APIs for hitting search and headless. And any questions, just jump in any way through. So, you know, the indexing model first off. This is a very traditional sort of indexing model. We have products, we have variants, and then we have availabilities. So the availabilities can target things like, for example, if you've got delivery units that are closer and you need to search for them, you need to break down your warehousing rules, etc., into a more like split structure. The products and the variants, as we all know in commerce, pretty standard. And so how do you connect to this? Effectively, we have a couple of different ways when we connect to this. There's no out-of-the-box connector from Coveo. So what you have to do is basically build the similar systems that we've got when it comes to graph, search and navigation, etc. We can connect to their Stream API. That's like a full catalog sync, a daily thing, so we can make sure that all the data is updated. And then we have a push API, which is all of the changes, all of the deltas that have happened. So this can be like really good to make sure everything's happening. And we can also connect this into the event system. So pretty standard off when it comes to the standard indexing. So, here's just a few examples. Basically connecting to this, it has its data structure that has these like EC prefixes, but you just push it in and then build a scheduled job and then do your delta sync, your nightly rebuild, etc. So this is all pretty bread and butter at the moment, what most people here would be aware of when it comes to a search platform. Then we have an interesting thing, which is part of what does a heavy lifting, is the query pipelines. So when it comes to the configuration of Coveo, you have like properties that are your like core, let's say, main sites. This could be like your website domain plus your language or region. And so you then connect those down into your indexing systems and then through into your storefronts, and you have a pipeline that connects these up. So with all of these pipelines, you can effectively connect rules and conditions. So, you can have synonyms, thesauruses, did you means, facets, but also a load of like rules in this engine. So you index the content, you can have it like excluding content, you could put all of your number of published content in there, but then exclude it as a rule out of the output. So, it's quite a cool rules engine, and then you can have your machine learning models tied into that. So what's cool about Coveo, as we build this up versus other systems, or search and navigation is great, graph's great, and it's got some like cool AI areas of relevancy areas now. But this is very great when it comes to, as you'll see more of, the merchandiser, the editor, the people who have access to the systems to control the models, the learning algorithms, the configuration of how everything ties together. So you can really adapt on this and you can really drive it. Similar to other sort of similar products. So this is like the area you'd see on the query pipelines. So what's interesting with this is you've got like product status flags and you've got things you can exclude, but you've also got like in machine learning, there'd be machine learning algorithms, and there can be like different ones that are based upon like analytics data and personalization, and ones that are based upon generic data of the product. Because when you go live, you might not have all of that data. So you can gradually roll these out, and as you have more data, switch to better optimized model. The key for all of this, obviously, if we were to go into the overview, would be to look at this and have these personalized machine learning driven, analytics driven commerce recommendations. So customers will see exactly what they want, when they need it. It will be when you turn on the conversational search, all of that will hook in, and it will really give that AI flavor, machine learning driven product recommendations in search. So like AI driven search is a relevancy system, but then it has the product recs and the machine learning and everything else built around it. So, really powerful. And then on top of that, all of this stuff's very cool, but like that admin interface there, and putting things in on rules and machine learning algorithms, while all of us devs love to tweak an algorithm. Merchandisers, clients don't necessarily want to do that. They'll be going in and be like, what the hell is this? I've only just learned how to create a cat image in Gemini. I don't know how to tweak this algorithm. So the merchandising hub is very useful. That basically is the marketeers area. So you can go in and then you create listing pages that map to all of your catalog pages in the system, which we did a scheduled job and sync this dynamically, and then a search page. And on both of these, you can do things like pinning, putting them in specific places, boost and bury, and content spotlight. And the cool thing as well is when you go into this, you can see for every single listing page, what each of those, what the revenue and the basically the conversion rate and all of the amount of money you've made from that. So you can see specific products, specific groupings. You can go in and look at each product that's in a listing and see the relevancy. So if you're seeing a product and you're like, why is this happening? You can go in, see the ranking, see the weighting system, understand how the machine learning models have basically ranked the relevancy and push this. You know, it could be a combination of your pinning rules, the boost and bury that can push it up and down, things that it's learned about you as a unique customer. It really can drive that and tailor that. And, you know, hopefully as it trains more, as it understands more, you'll get better relevancy, better products, and therefore better conversions. So this is the merchandising hub, so a little bit nicer. You can see the products, you can click on these, as I said, see more information about this, see the click-through rate, the revenue, the conversion rate. And it's not just, you know, all of this AI optimization is not just baked into the products area as well, it's all through the product. We said product recs, we said this area, but it also extends to things such as the keywords. So, you know, when you go on a traditional commerce site that might have a vertical listing of categories and facets and filters, you know, you click on those and they're often just organized in some sites in just the way that the merchandisers want. But in this system, you can have it learn and automatically know what are the most performing facets and filters, and you can have those presented in, you know, an order that's relevant. So just really cool and interesting. And then so we have these three pipelines, queries and autocomplete and suggestions for the header. You sort of tie in the header and the suggestions based upon the keyword and then re-query the products, and it links all of the keywords and everything you've searched through to this. And the heart of all of this is the analytics system, the tracking system. Everything is driven by analytics. So you have tracking via Google Tag Manager or in your code, and you track all of the elements from clicking on like the drop down in a header, interacting with a keyword, tracking it through to a click. You understand the relevancy of every single interaction that has been made. So it's really powerful. And then you have the relevancy. So relevance that learns by behavior. We have the auto relevance tuning, the models that are created. They can understand the difference between clicks and just views and cart events and purchase events. It understands unique users, etc. You've got query suggestions, predictive suggestions, trained on what users click on. It can help it has out of the box standard synonyms, dynamic navigation, which is the facets area I mentioned, product recommendations, all of that stuff. So it's got like a full stack of all of the intelligence baked into all of these areas of where you want the products to be surfaced the most. So, and then you have relevancy generated answering. So you can put this in. So if you go on a product page, and we've all seen these, you can query a product page and it will take all that information and generate a response. So you can get like these nice queryable pages. And it's all analytics. It's all about analytics, all the machine learning models. And why did we go hybrid? Because we wanted to preserve good SEO, good rendering, and a good user experience. They do have an out-of-the-box headless React implementation, which is also hybrid, but that's not what we've got. Unfortunately, this specific project is still running jQuery, I know, but still, you know, so Claude very kindly built me a version of that as a POC, and then we ran with that and edited it and moved forward, and were able to make a hybrid solution with ASP.NET Core and front end, which is cool. So very quickly, got a few minutes left, I believe. So things to be aware of. You know, it's a different paradigm. Quite often the way you've got the catalog set up and the structures aren't quite mapped, especially with unique businesses, to the way that the catalog and the structure is in Coveo. So the important thing is mapping the structure, understanding how everything's connected. It's got a very big relevance on products and variants and variant tracking. And in our specific case, it wasn't really set up that way. So you've got to maybe sometimes even adapt your catalog model to be able to work with how this works. So features don't map one-to-one. You might have features already and you'll come into Coveo, and although it's a great platform, sometimes it's not quite perfect. Things like the content spotlight is a bit basic. It's a fairly beta new feature. It's going to get better, I'm sure, but it wasn't as good as what we had in the CMS and our previous. So not everything will be perfect. Late feedback hurts. Try and overlap, try and get the client involved as early as possible. You know, that's always tricky, but you know, that you need to have that up front and make the scope sure. And also, on that side, just going back to that, making sure the client is overlapped with Coveo as much as possible, because very much it will be up to you and the client to drive what their training looks like. It won't be a perfect hands-on solution all the way through. And so, couple of little nuggets here. So there's only 2 environments, so you have to share non-production across your different environments, which can be taxing, means duplicating a lot of configuration and naming conventions, etc. So, and the big part of that, which is still a little finicky, is although they've got that merchandising area, as I mentioned, you've got the admin section, the merchandising section. When you work on non-production, there's only an ability at the moment to synchronize and copy up the admin settings from non-prod to prod. So when we wanted to do it, we wanted to have the client migrate and set up all their merchandising rules during our our UAT phase, and ideally on non-production, and then push it all up. But we couldn't do that because there wasn't a tool for that with merchandising. So we ended up having to go to production and use UAT on production. But then Coveo said, well, you don't want to have all your tracking events turned on because it's going to start adding data and might skew relevancy tuning. So we had to build ways to, make sure the flags to turn off the tracking was actually during that phase was off, turn it back on for some limited testing and work with it. And this also extends to the second feature is a no down point here. Because you can't synchronize that up, you also can't synchronize it down. So ideally, like with the DXP, with copying databases down, you want to be able to regularly pull the data down to your UAT environment to match pre-prod so you can test it and play with it, but it's not there. So there's some internal tools they've got, but I wasn't comfortable using internal demo tool things for a live project. So still a few things that could be a bit better. So you need good live and code-free areas, and you've also got to have really good configuration structures. You might think that when you set everything up, that the defaults would basically be out of the box perfect, but they're not. Most of the stuff, most of the query pipelines, the relevancy, the models aren't set up properly. It's just the basics. It just sets up some scaffolding. So you need to work with Coveo to get them to help you understand the ones you need to set up, them to help you, or to fully adapt and understand all the knowledge and then do it yourself. Otherwise, you'll go live and you won't have the right models, you won't have the right analytics, you won't see the right results. And so that has tripped us off a little bit, but we got it very quickly turned around, went live with a model that's based upon core data we imported, and then it switched when we had enough analytics data to be about relevancy. So what I do differently very quickly, only got a couple of slides left. I know everyone hoped there's another 20 because it's a very exciting topic, but consolidate all the differences up front, map everything, get everything together. AI can really help with all of that. Mapping the catalog, mapping the features, mapping everything there. Make analytics a first-class deliverable. We made a few mistakes with delivery on it. Just a couple of technical elements. We got them sorted before go live, obviously, but just some of that early upfront communication stuff could have been better, just on that not being as seen as complicated because we're all used to GTM and analytics tracking, but there was a lot of complexity with unique IDs and stuff. Lock in the vendor loop, just make sure there's a lot of review, a lot of overlap with the client and with Coveo themselves. And very quickly, where this goes next, we're doing image search, where you can put images up, recommendations, refactoring, so like targeted refactoring of all our code base, because still a bit of debt there, and then implementing the conversational AI. So key takeaways is AI. Coveo isn't just a search platform, it's a relevancy platform. It's all about AI, it's all about ML, it's all about bringing the right data. Don't port, redesign it, rebuild the solution around what you need to if it's a very key part of your structure, and make analytics basically super important from the get-go. So I won't take any questions. You can ask me just because I'm hitting directly on the buzzer now. So thank you very much. Hopefully it's been interesting.
All right, so hello everyone. I'm Guilherme. I'm a solutions engineer for Cloudflare. And yeah, thank you for having me here. And yeah, I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what Cloudflare is doing in the, I guess, agentic AI space. And yeah, let's get started. So, let's say that you have a couple of tasks you need to do every day. These tasks can become repetitive, right? And you see yourself like doing the same thing over and over, and even if the task or the end result itself is different, you find you're doing the little steps, the same little steps all the time. So how can we basically improve that part of your everyday work life? And one idea we can do, as maybe you already do it today, or some of you at least, is basically to talk to an agent, right? So what we have here is basically, you can create an agent using Cloudflare Agents SDK, basically, where the agent itself is running on the Cloudflare's network. By itself, it doesn't do much, so you basically need to give it some tools to help you perform those everyday repetitive tasks. And just to give you an example, this is the code to run a full agent on Cloudflare's network. As you can see, it's very little number of lines here of code. And there's a section over there that is called tools. So that's basically what you're going to build in the agent, so it has the necessary tools to perform whatever task you need it. So just for this, let's take an example where, I don't know, maybe marketing department asks me as a developer to deploy some new campaign section on a specific website to generate a QR code so that the marketing team can share it in advertisements and over email and so on. And in this particular example, one of the tools I would like my agent to use is the email, so that by the end, when I talk to the agent, and just instead of doing all of these small steps myself, I just ask it, okay, can you deploy this on Optimizely, for example? By the end of the task, it will basically send me an email and to the department team saying the task is completed. So one of the first tools we can think of is, for example, email. So to basically provide or get the agent to be able to send and receive emails, the way you do it is just by writing a small binding in the Wrangler file. So the Wrangler is the CLI version of workers, so that you can basically develop any worker application using a CLI. And to use the email is just a small binding over there. So, okay, so the agent is ready to send me back a response when the task is over. But to generate a QR code, the agent probably needs to create some kind of code in order to grab a URL and generate the image. So the agent itself is going to know how to write the code and run it, but I don't want code created by a third-party LLM to run on my computer. I'm a bit paranoid, so I don't know what the code itself might do in case something goes wrong. So what I can do instead is have the agent run the code inside a contained environment. And that's why we have there the sandbox component there. The sandbox basically allows the agent to run the code inside an isolated container. And in that way, it's safe. And if anything goes wrong, it's just the container itself that is affected and not my laptop, for example, or the worker runtime that I'm using for production. Okay, so the agent can send and receive messages over email. It can run code in an isolated environment safely. But how does it exactly communicate with Optimizely in this case, if I want to tell it to deploy something new on my website? So the way we do it And this is just a very quick example of deploying talking to the agent to tell it to create a QR code. The agent is going to spin up a container, have the code running there, and then the output is sent back to the agent. And it's very, very quick, so in less than 3 seconds. But going back, how can and this is the code to basically deploy the sandbox environment. As you can see, it's only like 8 lines of code as well. So how can the agent then communicate with the Optimizely backend? So we would have to have MCP servers that Optimizely is running. What Cloudflare can do in this instance is 2 things. One of them is very important, which is security, right? You don't want everyone to have access to all the MCP servers that might be available, right? Maybe some people from specific teams should only be able to perform specific tasks, and for that, they only require access to a couple of MCP servers. Maybe a developer needs to have access to all of the MCP servers to perform another more complex action or task. So in this case, what we can have there is what we call MCP portal. So that basically will allow Cloudflare to allow or deny access to specific people, to specific MCP portals, depending on their role, depending on what they should have access to, okay? So that's the security component. This is just like a very quick example. We have 2 scenarios here. Sam should not be able to purge all the cache, if there's a change. But for example, Maya should be able to do that. And with MCP portal, you can exactly define, who has access to what. The other thing we can do here is actually use code mode. So, MCPs will basically provide all the tools, to perform specific actions. And when there's no code mode involved, what happens is that, the LLM needs to communicate, use a tool. We have the result of the tool that increases the context, and the intermediate data ends up piling up. It needs to call another tool, and this is all to perform a very complex task. It needs to call multiple tools, wait for the result, and this not only takes a little bit of time, it will also consume a lot of tokens. So with code mode, we all know that LLMs are very good at writing code, right? So instead of having to rely on reading, all the possible tools in a single MCP server, the LLM actually writes just code to perform the task, which is much faster and ends up saving a lot of tokens. Okay, so this is something else we can have in place here. So just to sum up here, we have the agent SDK. You talk to in plain English. You can just set a task and let it go. And then the agent SDK will run code in a sandbox environment, will communicate with the backend at Optimizely CMS just using MCP servers. Then once the changes are performed or completed, the agent can then get back to the team, share the result of the action, share the QR code, for example, in this instance, and let us know that the action is performed. So with this, I don't want you to basically just focus too much on this exact example. This is more or less a recipe. So if you see yourselves performing the same actions every day, and you need to leverage a platform like Cloudflare to do it, you can just build an agent on Cloudflare, have it deployed using multiple different technologies here, and we can look at, for example, content migration, a bulk metadata update, maybe an approval, some kind of approval flow when there's a release of a new feature or something new that is developed. So, this diagram is the same. You can leverage more technologies, less technologies, but basically you can just build it entirely in one single platform. You don't have to worry about multiple tools at the same time. Right, so this was very short, very quick, but I hope it gives you at least a little bit of idea what is possible. And I would love to talk to you more about it. So I hear there's dinner sometime soon, so I'm happy to anyone who wants to approach me and just let's discuss some ideas here. Yeah, that's it. You're welcome.
Hello? Hello, hello, hello? I don't know why I've got this timing. It's the worst. Straight after the break, everyone's a bit tired, so let's try and wake you guys up. Before I get started my talk, I just want to put a couple of photos up, not all from myself, but in honor of Scott, him enjoying a, what do you call these? Jägermeister in a very big bottle. Scott being Batman.
I mean, that was a tequila shotgun.
Oh, nice. Scott trying to do a presentation in San Diego. There's plenty more photos. I do have more if anyone does want to see them. I will share them. You may see more during this deck.
If you can promote it, it's your turn.
What's that?
Promotion.
Oh no, I just put that in. For those that do not know me, I am a junior developer at NetSell. So things might go wrong now. I'm going to talk about SaaS CMS, UI extensions, an exciting topic. Woo! Do I actually need this? And if we have time, I might talk about MCP with SaaS CMS as well. So, what we'll cover today, I'm having to do this manually. 1 minute. Sorry, I've got too many slides open. Oh. All right, so what we're covering today is why do we need extensibility, what it unlocks, how it works. You might see it live if it works. Potentially the roadmap, I might need Simon to help me out on this one, and any questions and answers. I love that cackle. So why extensibility? Before we go into that, there's two ways you can use the CMS. You've got PaaS CMS. The source code belongs to you. You can extend it to your heart's content. Install NuGet packages from stuff you develop or what third parties might develop for you. You can override the services and rendering. It's very easy to do upgrades, plugins, what you do in PaaS CMS. It's up to you what you want to do. SaaS CMS is not quite the same. The source code is with Optimizely. It's a one-size-fits-all. Because it's a one-size-fits-all, you can't make any changes to the code base. The runtime is owned by the platform, Optimizely in this case. So PaaS CMS, yes, you own the code. It ships at source. So whatever you develop, you can ship it yourself when you desire. SaaS CMS, shared code base, hosted product for every customer. There's no difference. Every customer will get that same source code, same code base. When Optimizely decide to upgrade the systems, everyone gets upgraded. That trade has no gap. With SaaS PaaS CMS, we can do them plugins. SaaS CMS, until now, we could not do that. But CMS UI extensions close that gap. Customers on SaaS CMS were asking, we need a custom workflow panel for legal reviews, for example. We want to see our CRM data in SaaS CMS. Could not do that. We want a comprehensive reporting center in SaaS CMS. Couldn't really do any extensibility, so could not see it much. We want to integrate our custom DAM. You might not want to use the Optimizely DAM. Could not do that. Same code base, many editing experiences. Extensibility is the seam that did not exist in SaaS CMS until now. What it unlocks. So faster time to value. You can ship now your UX changes in days, not quarters or months, years, whatnot. You're not waiting for Optimizely. Any kind of extensions you now want to ship, it is possible with SaaS CMS extensions. You don't have to have any control of the code base. It's all React, TypeScript based that you can push using the OCP. There's a tailored experience, so everyone gets the same CMS, but the extensions are yours and yours to control. So for us partners, what it means for us, we can build many extensions, ship them out to clients. There's a little bit of money in that, so one extension might work for that, we can actually ship it to the Optimizely marketplace, and a lot of people can be using it, can be licensing it. You can bring our own intellectual property to it as well. So if there's anything special you might be doing behind the scenes, we can connect up to that data. There's faster delivery cycles as well. We can be shipping out new extensions in weeks, not months. Again, there is no wait period. And there are repeatable patterns across engagements. There might be one client that likes having a redirect manager. You can have that same redirect manager for another client. For developers, it's built on the Optimizely Connect platform, so a lot of you will know how to ship extensions onto that Optimizely Connect platform. It's exactly the same way of doing it. It's absolutely seamless. I was up and running in less than 5 minutes. Skills carry across the suite, so if you have built OCP apps before, you already know how this works. It's one CLI, OCP CLI, it works across the board. So no matter what you're shipping to, it's the same way of working. You guys are used to it. Andy knows, he's done plenty of these. So versioned host APIs. So as everyone knows, SaaS CMS, Optimizely update it. You kind of don't know when this is happening. The way they're actually making this work is the SDK is decoupled from whatever upgrade they're doing. So there's no chance, touch wood, of your CMS SaaS extension breaking. Simon, is that true? For customers in Optimizely. What's that?
I was nodding, I was drinking.
With crossed fingers. A CMS shape to their team. So you have specialist control panels that they can use, that they get used to. The extensions, they are in very specific pages. So once they get used to how to use them, everyone will be used to them. Customers that are using SaaS CMS, there will be joint up ways of working. Again, I mentioned there's no upgrade fear. Optimizely might upgrade their software. Your extensions will still work. One vendor relationship. So CMS and extensibility from the same place. It's OCP, but it's up to who's pushing it up there. So the marketplace effect. So like I said, for partners, they can be pushing the extensions to the marketplace. Clients can pick and choose what they actually want to use. How it works. So it looks backwards, I know. But there is the CMS UI that connects to an API. You fetch the information from the OCP, you get the UI bundle, and invoke the functions from there. The extension itself does the rendering, the destroying, and the configurations of anything that may be changing. You've also got the back end, so any kind of business logic that lives in your extension is executing in your extension, and that lives with you, which is quite brilliant because the data is your IP. It's quite important. So what can you do at the moment? Well, there's sidebar apps. So I'll show you what it means in a minute. You've got your full page apps as well. So you can have an extension that takes up the full page in SaaS CMS. And also you can customize properties as well. So at the moment, you can't, the properties you get are the properties you get. If you want to actually customize the look and feel of them properties, let's say you want a custom color picker or Google Maps location picker, you can now do that with SaaS CMS UI extensions. So let's see what this looks like. So first of all, this is the sidebar app. Sidebar app. Look, there's a little sidebar you can open up. Customizations up there. This one demo connects up to Google Analytics. That's what a full screen app looks like. As it says on the tin, it's full screen. I'm sorry, these are not my slides. Kunal wrote them. I just used AI to make them net selly. Now, this is the property editor. This is the one where I think is quite exciting. You can have properties that you want to update, but you can actually extend what they look and feel and the kind of data that they are keeping. You can completely customize these. Not out yet, but hopefully soon they will be released. So how it stays safe. Remember, it's sandboxed. Whatever you are actually delivering, it stays with you. You're not affecting the actual SaaS CMS code base. So there's no danger on that. It actually embeds itself in an iframe. There's scope permissions. I haven't seen this myself, but I believe you can actually say yes or no on who should be able to access your extensions using OptiID. Versioned APIs as well. So there's an SDK in here. Because of that SDK being abstracted, any kind of thing that you develop, you will know if there's any breaking changes because that will be versioned. That SDK is going to be versioned. You can bring them in using NPM packages. So it's stuff that we kind of know how to use, fairly straightforward. So let's go to a demo. I'm going to just show you what it looks like before it gets any further than this. So this is a SaaS CMS over here. Why is that not working? I know how to use computers, I promise. Is that working now? I told you I know how to use computers. Right, so let's just refresh this. Go to Moseley Bank homepage. Everyone knows what Moseley Bank is. I don't need to show you what it looks like, right? So this is a sidebar application. We have something called a Unsplash viewer here. Wouldn't normally have something like this. It's completely bespoke. It's an extension. I can search for bike. It might take a while. Might take longer than a while. It will get there. Come on. No, it's not using Opal. I asked the question. There's no dependency on Opal, by the way. Hey, we've got some bikes back. Thank the Lord. So look. I got a bike back. Be happy with that. So look, I can connect it to a third-party DAM over here, and if I want to use any of their assets from this DAM, because some people may not want to use the Optimizely DAM, I can go in here, I can see all of the information. The images actually live on Unsplash over here. I know that I can then start using this in my custom property of an image over here when that becomes available. But I can copy that image URL and I can view that in Unsplash. So it's a very simple example of how you can actually extend or develop on SaaS CMS. Also, this sidebar knows the context of your SaaS CMS. So this is important. So when you have a page, it will have some information in that page. So for example, if I go to this one over here, you can see it's actually put the GUID in here. I know the GUID's not most interesting, but it's still got some images back. It likes the number 6. I'm glad number 7 wasn't there. But it's got the GUID just there. So I could use the page name. I could use any other property as part of my context in my custom plugin that I have delivered. Quite important because if you have a page slug or something, you can go to Google Analytics, for example, and get proper analytics of your plugin that's there. So how would you actually go about installing this? So again, I'm doing this a bit backwards. There is a little bit of code involved. I will show you, I promise. So you go to the OCP, Connect Platform. When you have deployed your application, you will see something like this. There's a CMS UI extensions. This is the NetCell Unsplash viewer. Again, I didn't write this, I've cloned it, but it does job for me for this demo. I can have some settings, so I can have my API key in the Unsplash access key over here. You can set up as many properties over here that you need. So you may have a token, a key, whatever you need to put in here, you can actually have that form extend, and it's very easy to do so. So I've actually installed it. If I actually want to uninstall it from my app, I can do so. But over here, you can see that I can add it to my CMS instance. I've only got one, but if you have multiple SaaS CMS instances over here, you can actually add it very easily. I have got another one. So if I go back, I did make a special one for Scott, which was the Scott picture viewer. It's a little bit of a different version of the Unsplash viewer. So let's go and install that to my CMS. So at the moment, if you see, there's nothing there. So let's go and actually add the Scott CMS viewer. So add extensions. This better work. If I refresh this page, I should see there's a little bit of a bug. So sometimes you have to click this once or twice. So you see it now. And now, hopefully I see the Scott picture viewer. I don't know why it's taking so long. I should not have uninstalled this one. So now you see fantastic pictures of Scott. Again, the one I like. Oh, not that one. Don't like Mark. Let's go to the Batman. No, I have not. I actually asked permissions. So if anyone wants the Scott picture viewer in their version of SaaS CMS, I am selling it for the cheap price of £299 a month. So as you can see, it's very easy to set this up. Okay, let's have a look at it. I do like this one. It did get me into trouble. I have not joined Niteco, by the way. It's all rumors. Right, how it works. If you look at the code base, so first of all, you guys know how to use OCP, or do we need to go how to register the app? Yay, nay? Let's pretend you do. So when you register an app, you have to have a unique name. If Niteco made one of these, I can't use the word Niteco Unsplash Viewer. So luckily, mine says NetCell. I give it a name, I give it a version. So when I'm pushing up the app using the CLI, I need to make sure I have got that version, and it bumps it automatically. And then the biggest point to note is this, the CMS UI extensions. This tells it it's a SaaS CMS UI extension, and it puts it into that correct directory for you to use. Basically, it's as simple as that to use. Now the form, do you remember in the OCP, at the moment, I've only got the Unsplash access key. If you want to add any more options, very easy to do so. You can just extend this YAML file with as many form fields as you need. So yeah, setting this up, you can clone it on the Optimizely GitHub account. You can see the Unsplash viewer. If you ever need to install it, you'll see an example. What I would do is pull it down, use Claude Code, and make it your own. It's as simple as that. So yeah, that is how we go about having CMS UI extensions. And we have that demo, the roadmap. Again, don't hold me to this. I do not work for Optimizely. So we are in July. We've been given beta access at the moment. It's not quite available for everyone just yet. It is a private beta, but soon, hopefully, it's an open beta. I believe there's a couple of people, Andy, Scott, myself, on the beta program. We are just trying to test the edges, see where it might break. In September, the full SDK support will be coming, and hopefully October, you'll have GA access. Simon, is that roughly correct? Then after this, soon after, you'll get the property editor and you'll get the full page app as well. That was it. Is there any Q&A? Any questions?
Minesh was saying probably sneak its way to Opticon, I would expect.
Opticon New York or London?
Flexible on that. This year or next year?
So Dev Meetup 2027 will be released.
We can still remote the MVPs next year.
I had a quick question around, is there any support in terms of making it look like CMS, i.e. styles?
Yes, so if you're familiar with the Optimizely design system, I believe there's something called Axiom, which is their design system. It is just TypeScript and React in the back end that you're pushing up. So if you actually integrate that Axiom design system, you will make it look like Optimizely. So bright green, big, and bold. Go on.
So in that example you had there, it was like retrieving content, but it wasn't necessarily like updating the content that was already in the page. Like if you wanted to do like a translation sidebar gadget, could it then update the contents that are existing?
Yeah, there's two ways to go about that. You've got the content management API that you can hook into with your custom plugin. So you can update the content on page. You might just want to update some graph information, so you can go and update that graph information. Remember, the business logic is completely yours. There's plenty of SDKs to talk back and forth between that plugin, that sits outside of SaaS CMS and update what you need it to update.
Okay, so you're still using the APIs that exist today?
Yeah, you can use any APIs to update.
Choose the master. Right.
Yep. Good.
How is it sandbox? Did you say iframes?
It is iframes. So content security policy and stuff like that, you may need to, just make sure it's set up. But it does run under your same DXP URL as well. So same, no, is it? None equals, you'll figure it out. Is there a second question to that? I did see your hand up.
Oh, no, I was just wondering, so if you do update the data, would you be able to refresh the page so it does it live?
Not tested it. Something to come back to.
I presume you don't have drag and drop support for things like the sidebar because it's iframe.
At the moment, no, but your custom property extension that's basically, when I was showing you the Unsplash viewer on the right-hand side, I did not explicitly actually update my property in the middle because at the moment, I've not figured out how to do that. I have seen in one of Kunal Shetty, he's an architect at Optimizely, he's been able to show that and do that. So I'm sure it's possible. Yeah, he's been able to do it. I will figure that one out, and once I know, I'll hopefully put a blog post out. I need to get my MVP credits back up. Any other questions? Just to finish off, I don't know if this is going to work.
We have enough, haven't we?
So, this is specially for Scott.
Thank you.
I don't know if the music is going to play, but let's see. Oh, it's not playing, but you get the gist. There is Swedish music playing in the background somewhere. I'm not sure if it's ABBA or not. And, right. I don't know if I've used up my time. There is the SaaS CMS MCP as well. Have I got 2 minutes or?
You can do it, yeah.
Okie dokie. So MCP, everyone familiar with MCP concepts? So not long ago, Optimizely released the MCP for SaaS CMS. It's very simple to use again. How do I register my SaaS CMS? So this is a particular application, a front end to a SaaS CMS connection, literally to my MCP JSON. I've just put in that URL. You can authenticate. You get a whole bunch of tools. You can see me working with Claude over here. But for example, I think I asked a question somewhere here. That was getting the connection. So I basically at one point asked, what's the home page? So it was trying to figure that out. You can see that it was getting the Mosey blank experience. That was my home page it figured out. But you can actually get the SaaS CMS as well, sorry, the MCP to create content types. Ideally in this demo, I wanted to show you an end-to-end flow where it would connect to the Figma Make or Figma MCP, get me content, create the content types, but I definitely did not have time to show you all of that today. But a short example, I did get it to make, in my SaaS CMS, I did make a page for me, literally by just saying, MCP, make me a page of blank experience, call it Hello Scott, because of his 10th year. And you've got a Hello Scott page come up using that MCP. It's not only in Claude Code, that's in Visual Studio Code. You can have it in Claude Code as well. Why do I not have Claude open? I normally always have Claude open. So let's just see. You can see that I have the CMS over here. Just if I quickly edit the config, how to register that. If I go with open with Notepad, you can see that I have an MCP somewhere here. Look over here. So it will be to the MCP remote, it's using a proxy, it's connecting using that URL. The first time you execute it, it will ask you to authenticate, and it's simple GUI that loads up in your browser. If you've used MCPs, you'll see how to actually go about this, but you can actually see in Claude Code, this MCP working. So I just set up a new session. I just asked it just to check the Optimizely SaaS CMS works on my new session, list all content types. You can see that it's got the blog post, the blank experience, blank section. It's Mosey Bank, it's limited content. But yeah, it's able to communicate with my SaaS CMS and fetch the information I need to fetch. If you actually look at all the tools that are available to you, there's over 22 tools. Just to show you, look, there's a big list of tools over here. So create content items, get content data, delete items, etc., listing content types, creating content types, the usual. You've got the display option. So basically everything or anything you need to do with SaaS CMS, you can do it with the MCP. And that was it. Go for it.
Is that working with the CMS UI extensibility if you've got custom property types?
No, so this is completely separate from CMS.
If you had that, have you tried that with that and then creating content if you've got like a custom property type?
I've not been that daring. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much. I'm Minesh. I work for NetSell and I am a junior developer.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah. To your seats!
Hi there. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Okay. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about CMS 13 and Commerce Connect 15. I feel like I'm preaching to the converted a little bit with the audience. Obviously there's a lot of Optimizely people here. But yeah, as you know, the two different releases, CMS 13 released in kind of March this year, and Commerce Connect 15 followed on quite quickly after. So just a little bit about me. My name is Graham. I'm technical architect at MSQDX. There's a QR code there through to my webpage if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, etc. So today what I'm going to be covering is a bit about CMS 13, more from a practitioner point of view, about my lessons that I've learned from actually using it, A bit about Commerce Connect 15, some lessons that I learned from upgrading to CMS 13, and take any questions. In terms of questions, feel free to ask any as I'm going through, or hold them on to the end, whichever you want to do. So yeah, CMS 13, just going to be covering what changed under the hood, some gotchas, and the new creation and delivery model. So you all probably know CMS, there may be people in here who don't know CMS 13, but in one line, I'd say, yeah, it's graph first, .NET 10 Visual Builder by default. So what do I mean by that? So Optimizely launch framing was that it's all about content creation, content delivery, and AI. And those are the marketing buckets. Underneath the 3 concrete architectural shifts that actually change how you build. So that's a framework requirement. So graph becoming foundational and Visual Builder replacing the on-page edit. If you get these 3 right, everything else follows. So under the hood, the 3 shifts. So as you know, CMS 13 is built on .NET 10. This is mandatory, and it's long-term support that Microsoft are currently on, and it's only .NET 10. So any packages, third-party packages, etc., that fail .NET Restore on anything earlier won't work with CMS 13. And it also aligns with the .NET 8's end of support, which is November 2026. Optimizely Graph, as you may or may not know, is now foundational. It does ship with every license, but it's alongside OptiID. So without it, CMS 13 basically is CMS 12 on .NET 10 with fewer features. So Optimizely Graph does actually enable certain things like Content Manager, other Visual Builder defaults, etc. In terms of Visual Builder, it's the default editing surface now. It's a drag and drop canvas. It's live preview. It also contains auto-save functionality, etc. And on-page edit is off out of the box. So this is something that you can get going with straight away. And the main important thing that I'd go with is search and navigation. It's now removed. It's not been deprecated as such, but it's removed from the CMS 13 offering. So obviously now you use Optimizely Graph. It's very close to CMS compiled for .NET 10, but the schema between CMS 12 and CMS 13 has slightly changed. But it does offer site search, or you would use it for site search, filtering, product search. So the thing to bear in mind is they all need re-platforming to Graph, which takes me on to the next bit. So yeah, the big one for builders, developers in the room, is the Find to Graph kind of migration piece. So you do have a new Graph C# SDK. It's Fluent API. It's got types, div, serialization, facets caching. So it's very familiar if you use the Find's original iClient interface. It also includes content modeling via content type contracts. So think of .NET interfaces, there's less package coupling. It just allows you to get straight into, I'd say, building out similar Find functionality within Graph. And one of the good features of it is semantic search is out of the box. So for those of you that don't know what semantic search is, it's a way of trying to remember the name of it now. Machine learning, basically allowing you to do searches. Natural language processing, that's what I was looking for. And the other thing in there is ASP.NET MVC rendering is supported in Visual Builder. So it removes a hard graph dependency for rendering specifically. So in terms of creation, you've got Visual Builder and the editorial shift. So this is a content creation pillar. Visual Builder, yeah, as I mentioned before, Visual Builder is now the unified canvas for pages, blocks, experiences, and media. It's one interface and it's not separate modes. You've got the concept of content templates, which are kind of experiences, but they're reusable and the governed starting point, so authors don't have to build from blank, so you can go in there, create experiences, blueprints, and reuse them across the board. And also this concept of content variations. So these are variations of a content item. You don't have to clone them as such. So think of kind of A/B testing functionality. Other things that Visual Builder provides is auto translation. So you've got multi-language generation built in. And I'd say the most important thing that CMS 13 allows you is a new content manager. So this, in the original interface, you'd have a tree view of your structure of the internet. And the content manager actually allows you to view in a list view or grid view and perform kind of filtered searches of your content across the organisation. And as I mentioned before, you've got live preview, auto save, and drag and drop assembly as standard. So in terms of delivery, this has changed slightly in CMS 13, so it's headless by default now. It's got a headless architecture, so you separate where you create content from where you display it, as most of you know about headless architecture. The Graph C# SDK helps you with this. As mentioned there, it's a .NET native delivery path. It's fluent, tight queries, facets and caching. The other things that are available to you when you're trying to do headless is CMS REST API, so that's on by default via the add CMS command. You also have the JavaScript SDK, which you can use for front-end flexibility. So this is for non.NET delivery tiers, so you can use the JavaScript SDK to build up your contracts and models within JS. What else have we got there? And the final one, yeah, is content binding, so you can get structured graph queries linking content to external data sources with automatic sync. So that's one of the benefits. You basically can connect up to all sorts of different external data sources, ingest that into Graph and allow you to do a particular query as if all that data exists in one place. So just a little thing that the release notes gloss over. So OptiID is a new central auth layer for CMS 13, so it gives you the SSO and identity flows you need. So that needs revisiting on day one, not a go live. The package audit, so because .NET 10s are mandatory, a single legacy dependency that hasn't shipped a .NET 10 build can stall the entire upgrade. So one thing I'd highly recommend is to audit all packages that you use in CMS 13 before you do your scoping, not during, sorry. .NET 10 procurement, so especially in larger organisations, the .NET 10 runtime and tooling goes through a procurement queue that doesn't move for weeks. More devs won't fix a queue, so that's one thing you've got to take into account when you're, especially working with like larger enterprise organisations. Another thing that you need to think about is editor retraining. Obviously, Visual Builder is a new mental model for editors. They need to know how to use that particular feature. So the workflows change on go live day, but it's good to budget training for before this. Other thing that it mentions is that the AI discoverability angle is genuinely new, and most teams have no plan for it yet. Obviously, AI is becoming quite a big, as we know, a day-to-day feature in everything. So it's good to understand where and how you can use AI discoverability within CMS 13. It's also worth noting that the Dojo editors still work in CMS 13. However, it has been modernised, so you can use ES6 modules. And in terms of CMS 13, what it means for you, so in terms of building it, as I mentioned quite a few times already, the new query layer, Graph SDK, and real audit work needs to be done up front. But you will get a cleaner .NET story, so there's less brittle coupling, composable within Optimizely 1. In terms of owning it, it's a coordinated project, not a version bump. So yeah, you just need to make sure in terms of free tracks, you need to consider the infrastructure, the engineering, the editorial, as any one of these can derail the timeline. I'd say what the honest message is, it's worth doing, the architecture's better, but in terms of an upgrade, you need to scope it properly and resource the editorial change and not just the code. And just a few things on that have pulled out for what's next for CMS 13. So there's going to be more Visual Builder enhancements. So think of multi-layout, actually being able to edit blueprints, because currently at blueprints you can create a blueprint but there's no way of editing it. So there'll be blueprint editing coming down the line, as well as content model locking. In terms of content manager, they're bringing out more filtering and multi-select features to allow you to find content much more easily. One feature that's currently missing, but is going to get a lot more focus, is structured taxonomy and tagging. So think about categories and actually tagging your content so that you can, when you're doing graph searches, etc., you can pull out content a lot more effectively. We do have the concept of forms in CMS 13 at the moment, but multi-step forms will be coming down the line, along with expanded Opal tooling. I know there's been a recent release, and you can bring Opal into CMS 13, but there will be expanded Opal tooling down the line. And just going to what Minesh said for the SaaS CMS, there is the MCP server for CMS 13 that should be coming out soon. Not sure when exactly it'll be, but it will be soon. So that's CMS 13. Has anybody got any questions on CMS 13 before I carry on? No? Okay, so I'll quickly just move on to Commerce Connect 15. So Commerce Connect 15 has kind of just been released fairly recently. It's CMS 13 obviously is a platform, and Commerce Connect 15 rides on top of that. So as mentioned, it's an add-on to CMS 13, but it's built on the same .NET 10 foundation. So when you've got it installed into your CMS 13 platform, it inherits everything that's in there. So think of Visual Builder, Content Manager, DAM, Opal and Graph. So everything I've just said about CMS 13 is also true for any CMS 15 commerce builds. And in terms of Commerce Connect 15 in one line, I'd say that it's bringing commerce onto CMS 13 and .NET 10. So that's not a knock. It's necessary plumbing. It's something that needed to be done. But realistically, it keeps the shared dependencies between CMS and commerce in sync. The changes underneath, kind of graph catalog, async repositories, AI in the editor, they're like the real modernization part of Commerce Connect 15. So just a little bit about what moved in Commerce 15. So as for CMS 13, catalog search has gone from find or search and navigation to graph. And you've got the optimizely.graph.commerce, so that's one endpoint for native catalog and external product data. You've got a lot more async repositories now. So before they were synchronous, but there's a lot more async methods now. You've got Visual Builder for product detail pages, so you've got the same visual offering as the CMS 13 content. You've also got Opal in the catalog editor. So you can use Opal to generate things like product descriptions, inline copy, and finally DAM on catalog entries. So CMS 13 comes with a DAM built in, so the same applies to Commerce 15. You can browse and attach assets without leaving the catalogue. Just some breaking changes to watch for though is that the credit card storage APIs have been removed. So if you were storing card data directly, you'd need to move to a tokenized payment via a third party. For most modern builds, this is already true, but legacy implementations will feel it. The legacy workflow engine, that's been removed, so custom code on it equals rework. Legacy discount classes, they've been removed, and there's been some kind of deprecated methods that have been in in Commerce 14 for quite a while now. They've been removed in Commerce Connect 15. And find.commerce, that's gone obviously in line with the CMS change to Optimizely Graph. So just a few things in there. What's next? Correct me if I'm wrong, but PIM connector support, so Optimizely PIM and InRiver follows, or will follow in a minor release shortly after version 15. Not sure if it's out already yet. Don't know if that's something anybody in the room knows. No. Other things are product compliance agent. There'll be further commerce specific Opal tooling for later in 2026. And the ODP and service API add-on packages should publish shortly after the core release. So just a little bit about upgrading and some kind of takeaway points that I've got from when I've been doing upgrades to CMS 13. So if you're on an existing build, I'd say the actual order of the upgrade. So Optimizer's recommendation is do Commerce 15 either before or in conjunction with the CMS 13 upgrade. Mainly so you can keep the shared .NET 10 dependencies synchronized. So I'd highly recommend not to try half upgrading, do the two at the same time. If your build leans on the, if your build leans on the service API or PIM connectors, your upgrade timing is gated by them. And the Commerce 15 compatible service API is scheduled for Q2 2026. And the PIM connector support should follow in a minor release, as I mentioned earlier. Just one about the catalogue search. So the migration of that's not optional. As we mentioned before, I've mentioned a few times now that search and navigation's gone. So similar to CMS 13, when you're doing a search and navigation upgrade to Graph, you need to do the same for catalogue search migration and scope that as a work stream. And finally, some lessons from shipping it. So definitely before you start doing a CMS 13 upgrade, audit before you scope. So as I mentioned before, one legacy package that won't upgrade can block your whole kind of restore or running of .NET 10. So we need to just take a check on what, or at least do an audit on your .NET 10 packages beforehand. Look at search migration as a work stream, not a task. And yeah, as mentioned before, watch the graph type hierarchy behavior. Resource editorial change, so you want to get training in for any of the editors. So as I mentioned, Visual Builder lands on editors day one, not just developers. Mind the procurement queue, so as I mentioned before, with kind of large enterprises, we need to ensure that .NET 10 tooling timelines are a project risk, not an afterthought. But overall, the architecture is generally better. It's a cleaner .NET story. It's composable, it's AI embedded, but it's a project, it's not a patch, so it does need careful planning. It's definitely not as hard as doing from CMS 11 to CMS 12, but it definitely needs a bit of thought before. So yeah, that's the end of that. Any questions? So just a few things you might be wondering, when will CMS 12 get a .NET 10 build? So that was general availability was released May 2026, so now CMS 12 is .NET 10 compatible. And you might be wondering, can you run CMS 13 without graph? So technically, yes, you can run it without graph, but you lose most of what's new in the actual product. So yeah, is there any other questions from anybody?
When we move from Opti 11 to 12, we've got the parallel system structure in the XP.
Sorry, say that again, sorry.
Sorry, Greg. When we moved from Opti V11 to V12 PaaS, we've got a parallel system structure on the XP to deploy to.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant because then you can obviously get through to production and just switch over. Do you get the same going from V12 to V13, or do you have to kind of manage it through the existing three environments?
I've not seen it myself, but
You can request it.
Yeah, so demo 1, demo 2.
Correct.
Yeah.
You can request it, but you've got to request
When
it.
you migrate, it's exactly the same. The actual turnstiles are the same that they run for 12 and 14.
If you want a clean environment, which some people do because of what the .NET issue, but you might want a completely
Yeah.
clean environment.
Yeah, you can get it.
yeah, so something that needs requesting, yeah. Okay.
You have to pay for it, eh?
What?
You have to pay for it.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
How are we doing? All right, all good. I've got some photographs first, by the way, because I changed it up in honour of what Minesh showed. I thought I'll do the same thing. So I have nice photographs, though, basically. So all of that. So, by the way, I'm showing you this first of all because basically, Scott, he looks terrified of you. I don't know what's going on there, but basically, I look like some sort of bad gangster, and then you're sort of like a Hagrid figure, basically, where you're just, and all of a sudden, very terrified of you. So I'm trying to work out what's going on, but basically it's all good. But no, moreover, happy times. So community is basically what it's about here. So thank you for coming. Obviously, thank you, Scott, for your 10 years, your decade of doing this. It's very greatly appreciated. On behalf of all of Opti, obviously I recorded a video, but wants to basically say, you know, it's all about community, and whether we do this here or in Manchester or in Copenhagen or in Australia now, we do it everywhere, and it's greatly appreciated. And this summarizes it basically as a few of you here, basically on this. I'll try to photograph with as many of you as possible in it. I have one, and here it is basically with, I think, quite a few of you from this audience, so thank you. But also, it's all about basically proving that Polly does like to drink, and there she is looking, looking slightly more worse for wear, basically. Or even the fact that basically some other folks here, you didn't know this photograph, did you, by the way? I got you there. Basically with Pele as well, so therefore community is hugely important. And if you're wondering where that was taken, that's partner close-up, and that was in Stockholm, at the wonderful Bench in the middle of Stockholm. Over 305 people who came to that event. It was great. Fantastic that we were represented so well. If you want to come next year, please do. Obviously, we do it every year, and it's a wonderful testament. I think you'll agree it was a wonderful event, and these are photographs taken from that. We had, I think you saw earlier, some sort of crazy Viking sword fighting, fire basically being blown, people singing random Swedish songs that no one knew the words to, and lots of other good stuff. So therefore, no, very good. And so if you want to come next year, please do get in early. It was sold out. So therefore, it was a good fun. I think you'll testify it was great fun, and I think everyone learnt a lot. So, the frivolity aside, let's talk about CMS first. I have lots of good stuff to talk to you about, and we have 3 key themes and an action-packed 23 minutes and 10 seconds. So therefore, in terms of 3 key themes, we have effectively Opal, agentic CMS is huge. You would need to be under a rock, to be honest, to not see our website. So we're talking about Opal. But with Optimizely, I'm announcing that actually we're not going to call it Opal probably much longer, are we, Mr. Bramley? So therefore, not that I can say too much about that but we are calling it maybe the agentic platform, maybe Opal. I can't possibly say. You will find out when we decide to rename it on our website. As you all know, every 6 months we rename something on our website. So therefore, it is coming very soon. So therefore, watch this space. But obviously with that comes in mind CMS 13, of course, you've heard from Graham, thank you Graham, and about strengthening core capabilities. Now, of course, I would be remiss without talking about every salesperson's dream right now, which is to talk about limitless one-to-one personalization. What it means effectively, personalization at scale for everyone, max. It means effectively, can I make lots of agentically built pages from CRM data, ABM, whatever it might be, Salesforce with the pre-existing connector, and effectively push those to our CMS and therefore distribute hundreds of pages that are living and breathing from personalized data. That's hugely important. It means scale. Now, if you think about the wonderful world of even 2 or 3 years ago, we could not do that without AI, without Opal being its genius self to power this and effectively allowing you the ability to refresh content automatically as CRM audiences change and so forth. This is a big focus for us in terms of what we will talk about. You will hear us talk a lot more about this in the future. It is a key sales message for us. So more on that to come. I don't have a lot of time to talk about it, so therefore we'll go to the next. And effectively, we're talking about the MCP server, so front-end development, and it means actually, as you said already, now available. So therefore, you can use this to build all of that good stuff in terms of front-end. So it means that CMS content from the start, generating new components, so obviously the wonderful world of Claude being underneath this, if you want to then use that to do lots more, generating Opal to MCP server, then subsequently then doing front end. All of that means that the fact that we have both Claude and Gemini under the hood now, if you have been observant to that, you will notice we have both. It means that you can be very clever folks and then use either of those to generate exactly what you want. Now, of course, Going forward a step further, Figma, so therefore Figma importing means that we can then do that where we can take the frames that you've built in Figma and then use them to structured CMS page drafts. Now, in fact, that means you can then remove or reduce that manual page recreation and then make it so you can then do migration much quicker. Now, this has been requested probably about, I'd say, endlessly from you and our partner community to build and use Figma designs that you've already built. So we listened, we've done it. So therefore, you can then use this to build and accelerate pieces. Now, additionally, one other, I'll be honest, moan point from our partner community is here. So therefore, the ability to do multi-layout in terms of Visual Builder. This obviously is both SaaS and CMS 13 now. So therefore, the ability to have reusable layouts and more complex page structures, so not dump, 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 dump down the page, actually allowing you to have a lot more in terms of building flexible layouts. It means that we can do that without fancy Dan workarounds. So complex grids, layouts that you're used to doing previously with the CMS, now you can do those in the new Visual Builder layouts. More to come coming on that very soon though. The blueprint editing UI, of course, now you can build blueprints, obviously. You can do this from SaaS originally. With a Visual Builder, of course, you can see that's not the screenshot doing it justice, but you can actually then edit the blueprints directly. I know this has been requested by lots of partners to be able to do this, so you can not just do this creating endless blueprints, you actually can edit what you've previously made. So therefore, this is coming very soon, getting you all excited for these these features, therefore. Now, continuing on the excitement piece, we're looking obviously at content modeling, so therefore the ability where what can and can't be changed in the blueprint. So governance and control, which is quite nice. So therefore it means that actually I want to make sure that people should or shouldn't be doing, and required elements remain intact, like as we've said already, governance, brand elements, layouts, legal disclaimers, things that need to be protected and preserved, all of that is huge. So I think you'll agree some pretty strong things from our CMS editing and CMS building experience. That's just the highlights. I've actually taken a scoop of those. There are many more, but I think you'll agree they're pretty good highlights. Now, agentically, let's talk about that. So effectively, looking into industry-leading quality and reliability, you'll know that this explains our platform pretty well in the white. So therefore what we've done, obviously we've renamed Skills 3 times since it's launched. So therefore it's been now called Skills. I think we'll call it something else soon, so therefore watch this space, but effectively means obviously skills, org data, and evaluations. You're not familiar with evaluations. Evaluations means making sure that you're checking the output of what's been generated to make sure it is good quality generated AI output, and using it to then make sure the next thing you generate is also just as good, if not better. So therefore, all of that is being complemented by assistance in terms of AI building, memory, which has already gone live in terms of understanding as I'm generating something, I can take the highlights of what you've done and use that to inform better for the next generation that we do. Looking at analysis, issue detection, so self-recovery and self-diagnosis. And then I think you're all aware, and being honest in this room, Chatham House rules, of course, we're talking about the fact that we've preserved against unlimited looping, which basically has been resolved by virtue of stopping agents when they are going rogue. So therefore, that is actually what we mean by that. Now, additionally, those of you observant, human in the loop. That means the gap between where we have CMP and Opal is closeth. So therefore, it means that actually you will see that more and more, where effectively some of the CMP functionality, right there, and I will say nothing else, because it's not in my slides. I will let that be an Opticon goodie that's going to come. So more to come on that. Now, under the hood, of course, this is the slide we don't often show, but I think this explains Opal pretty good, actually, to be honest. Effectively, this is what goes on underneath the hood, and I will not talk through any of this. I'll let you take snapshots of it and have a look at it on your train journey home with a couple of glasses of wine and maybe a bottle from the off license. Now, you can effectively do this by virtue of talking through all of this in the fact of how it goes through accuracy, orchestration, specialization, integrations you can see, and also the ability, if you're observant, A to A. So therefore, the ability then to do more in terms of connecting to other systems. Now, that is a huge, important piece of where we are heading, where effectively we're not just doing the fact that you can use us to use Opal, it's Opal connecting to other stuff and actually enriching what you do with any queries that you do, and obviously Gemini and Claude together to choose which one you want to use to do your work. Now, with that, skill building assistance. Now, I quite often run workshops, we know this, I travel on a plane, I live in an airport. Now, effectively where we have this, we're actually going to have it so it will help you to build out these things. Obviously, you've seen skill building assistant already exists. We did this today in a workshop with our friends at NetSol, but effectively we can do this more by virtue of then doing agent building too, that's coming, so it can build these out for you. Now, it's not to replace people building agents, it's more to guide and help towards building those, and you can then effectively refine what is built to then build more. More to come on this, but I think that's pretty good. Image editing inside Opal, so therefore having it so it can edit generated images and you actually can then do more of them, so it replaces the artifact that you've created with a brand new one. More to come on this, but I think it's quite good in as far as generating and editing. Thirdly, recently released tools. I think this, everyone gets excited on this. The Zoom, the Googles, everything else, of course, but further down, the ones that people like is actually around ClickUp, and of course the MCPs, not just for SaaS CMS, but also for experimentation as well. So therefore, both of those mean that you can plug and play. Now, why this is important, and I'm going to say a very contentious thing about this, I know there's some CMS folks in the room, but you'll notice that actually we integrate with Contentful too. And Sanity. You might be thinking, my goodness, why do we say that? It's because Opal is sold as well, standalone. And that's important for you to understand, because basically part of our go-to-market is not just, of course, we would love everyone to have our CMS. That's absolutely true. But this is also talking about where we want to play, where Opal is also sold standalone. And that's part of how we are going to market. So therefore, just to be super clear around explaining this slide to you so you understand the context. It's not that we're saying anything is bad about our CMS. Not true. It's more about how we are going to market. So therefore, how we go to market is also being optional about where with our other products we can connect to them and use them with Opal. So, just to be clear. Now, go ahead, please.
It also makes it easier if you want to migrate off those platforms as well.
That's very true, sir. So therefore, indeed, I was speaking like Dan Tranter. I was doing my Dan Tranter mode there for a second. So therefore, all of that. But yes, absolutely. I think migrations is spot on. It's also about, we're looking at optionality. So therefore, we are looking at Opal being sold in a multitude of different ways. So you're absolutely spot on, Tom. Now, in terms of that piece, agent evaluations, we talked about earlier, but basically where this means is, let's just say you're doing executions of different agents and you want the ability then to do, let's just say I run the agent, I run it, I want to see and make sure the output is consistent. So therefore it means we can then live monitor evaluations of successful executions and use them to enhance the future output. So what this means is I can then look at what's been generated, how well does it do, look at evaluations, and where they haven't been evaluated, then use them to improve how we're doing. So what it means is basically, in simple terms, I can then have an execution, take it, link it, evaluate it, score it, and see whether or not it's good or bad, to then use it to improve the outcome of the next and future executions. That's pretty good, and this has been requested by you as partners endlessly. So therefore, I love this feature because it means that we can then deliberately and consciously make sure the quality is higher. Now, of course, additional, we actually announced, how many of you are aware we announced an integration with Conductor? A few of you, not all of you, so we missed a trick there with our branding. More to try harder, Optimizely. Now, you got a blog post. You have, but not everyone else has, so we're failing there, Scott. So therefore, and where it means there's three key things you need to know. In your Opal sandbox, we actually have the ability then to do brand visibility, share of voice, and gap finding. So it means that we can connect to Conductor data for research and then tell you effectively where you should be targeting based on any of these three, based on quality research from Conductor. So we built a go-to-market play with these. I'm not going to demonstrate them to you, but it actually talks to you about how we are broadening how we go about doing deep quality research to then subsequently then generate better quality content from agents and beyond. Now, the money slide is this. We launched all that, and there's a lot of text on there, so I'm not going to cover this at all, apart from to say that's a lot of features we just dropped on June the 30th. Now, the standout one thing that I want to call out that everyone was asking for universally is there, the agent sharing that I demonstrated today in our workshop, which means that you can control agents to be private or public. And you actually can make them so that they are only for you as agents versus someone else. That has been wished for, I think, since last May when we launched Opal, and therefore it's a brand new feature. I love this feature because it then solves the fact that, dare I say it, partners like yourselves don't moan at me anymore about this feature. So you'll probably leave my inbox alone, hopefully, with something else maybe, but actually where you actually then not talking about that. Now that's really important because you can do it per user. So this is hugely important where they can view it, edit it, or not even see it at all. That's great for governance. So therefore it means that you can control exactly who is doing. Now the rest of it, of course, Agents, a huge number of those. Out-of-the-box tools, you can see Google Ads and everything else. We've added a huge number of those. There's lots of functionality there. That's a big drop. Now, in your partner sandboxes, this is available now. So therefore, you can see all these features immediately in your Opal sandboxes. So, CMP, one feature call out, because every single person that has CMP has asked for this, which is the ability to do resource planning. So therefore, I think this has been a long time coming. I think I've had this on every single CMP customer that's asked me, can I have resource planning, please? Now we have resource planning. This matches us toe to toe with Workfront, my old employer. So it means that actually we can now do proper resource planning, and proper resource planning where basically we can do forward planning, overloaded, efficient, accurate time tracking and more. It turns the CMP not just into a campaign tool, it's now shifted into being an operational management tool combined with everything else on our platform, which is pretty awesome, I think you'll agree. And it matches us up with other tooling that basically has done similar things. So, go ahead, please.
As agencies, would it be worth for, we have multiple clients as agencies, would that work with something like that or not really?
Absolutely. Yeah. You have saved views, shared views, and then tagging as well. That's absolutely a perfect example.
Okay.
Yes, 100%. So experimentation, one for you, Polly. So therefore, remote MCP server, of course, then basically we have the fact that you can obviously connect to anybody. So therefore, the fact you can get to use chat, GPT, Claude, Cursor, VS Code, Copilot, etc. I know Lucinda uses Copilot. I've found a user of Copilot.
As I say, I'm using Agent Orchestrator in that software that I'm using. So because you can access Microsoft, we use PowerPoint,
I know, I've found a user there. I've found one. I've found one, quick. No, it's a standing joke in our team. I found a user of Copilot. 'Cause it's given away for free, isn't it, Lucinda? But otherwise, we've found one. So all of that means actually we can do more, obviously, with in-workflow idea builder. So generating relevant test ideas, that's inside, obviously, when you're building experiments. So therefore, from idea to experiments, you can get good ideas. No prompts, no switching tools is pretty awesome. So therefore, I love this particular thing. You can do it while you're in the tool. Secondly, one that close to my heart, experimentation is very close to my heart, as most of you may know. Finally, the ability to do preview test on any device. So we can do the proper device emulation. So it means when you're doing mobile or any other device, you can then make sure that actually this looks exactly the way you expect. I love this feature because effectively it means as an experimentation person, you can look what it looks like for any device type as you're previewing, which actually is great. Now, additionally, I call this the danger feature. I'll be honest, drag and drop rearrange, what could go wrong? So therefore, you're in the editor and you're dragging and dropping and moving around. This requires governance, I'll be honest with you. So therefore, what this means with the new editor, it means you can have that little icon appear and you can go and you can move items around on the page. I'll leave it right there and say no more.
Will these come in soon? Or?
That's available right now. Right now. If I've not said anything else, it's right now.
Oh, wow.
So therefore, basically, that's all available. And the same thing goes for React SDK version 4. So therefore, the fact we've got a brand new out-of-the-box SDK, which is clean. The simple TLDR version of this is faster, effectively, when running experiments. So therefore, you can actually then do this to future-proof, but effectively run experiments much faster when you are effectively just really having a much more leaner approach to doing things. Now, the key part around this is actually single SDK upgrade. You can run your CMABs or your holdout groups, configure, control them from a very simple query. Additionally, one thing that's also been requested, I think you'll agree, Polly, AI and bot filtering. So this is also now done by virtue of the fact that we can actually make sure we're excluding traffic that should not be there. So therefore, we can then make sure that that is being done correctly. This is quite cool because this is a commonly requested thing. Can you filter out the bad traffic? Now we can. So all of that.
Include like the licensing of activations, but obviously activations and expense, so it won't account it.
That's correct. We want to allow you the ability to add in rules to stop that. So yes.
Yeah, so it won't pay for the...
Correct. Yes, but the point of this is actually to explain the real reason for this is because you would prepay for MAUs, and the idea behind it is Cloudflare sort of over there. This is actually more about, I want to detect that basically I don't count against your MAUs, but how we price and bill. So it's more about the pricing and the upfront billing, how we do billing, so you're not punished by virtue of a bot that comes to the site. So it's more, not the technical parts over there, it's more about, this is a money reason we've done this, to be honest. Oh, it is, totally, yeah, it is. It's just, the reason we did it was more the fact that you would have to report twice, and now you don't. Yeah. Okay, analytics, for those of you doing analytics work, basically the fact that we have now context, so you can then do all of this in terms of actually connecting. Obviously, we could, all of that to the data warehouse we could already do, but actually what it means is Opal now connects to the data warehouse. So it means if you're doing experimentation work or personalization, you can then get context from it. This is brand new with Opal doing that, and the ability then to do Opal generated charts where you want to turn complex charts into very clear things. Now I'm going to do a throwaway for 2 minutes in terms of various things we've built, because I want to show a few things that we've actually built very, very quickly. Now, we've upgraded the new version of Commerce Tools. My learned colleague, Mr. Remco Janssen, built this. Oh, here we are. I shall do a scoot. Zzz. There you go. Multi-screen, love this. So my learned colleague, Mr. Janssen, built the first version of this in my team, so therefore he built version 0.2. So therefore, what it means is actually connecting to Commerce Tools. How many of you had a connector for Commerce Tools? 0 of you. We did a really bad job of that one. So effectively what it means is actually you can connect to this, but by virtue of what it means though, the bit that I like is actually inside the CMS Visual Builder. So very speedy technical version of what's happened here. Commerce Tools are connected to OCP. Therefore, OCP allows me the ability then to build in and connect or link a product tile to the product that comes via the Commerce Tools integration, landing in graph through OCP to this page. And by virtue of doing that, if you look at us here and we go all the way across here, you will see I can disconnect that. I could have done the reverse version of that, is linking to that product that came in via graph from Commerce Tools via an OCP pre-built cartridge. Now, the beauty of that is the new method of how we build stuff. This is actually something that we demonstrated at Commerce Tools' big conference in Miami. So why I love this is actually it's the new way of building and connecting content, or in this case, products that came from Commerce Tools, headlessly into the Visual Builder, done. Love it.
Is that using external content in graph, or is that something?
This is just basically, it's using external content, but actually the point is the connector. That's the point, and the ability to link live product tiles. That's the point here. So product tiles, this could be any product.
So the workflow is Commerce Tools to graph to
correct.
native.
And this is it. So therefore this landed all the way up here. So therefore if you go all the way up here, where it goes, and just to show you this, actually my machine on the Wi-Fi plays ball, excuse me a moment, this actually comes into here, and this is all of my products. So to your point, that's what came in there. So therefore they synchronized in here, they're managed in here, and I'm then linking them to a product tile inside my Visual Builder view that you saw a minute ago.
Does it count towards the content items?
It does indeed. It's part of the license, yes. However, what we're doing here is convenience. I can use this because the integration is the fact that I want to use that content from Commerce Tools and it's headless, and I want to use it in my visual display. So that lives, and if you want access to this demo environment, more than happy to give it to you. We had a great fun building it, so therefore I'm more than happy to give it to any of you that want to demonstrate this. We can just give you access to that environment. So, speedy as we are, I'm afraid, I want to also show you what's possible. If you would like it as well, we can also give you access on my podcast that I produce, that some of you have done. Polly, thank you for doing that. If you actually want to know how we actually generate the other stuff, we have a tooling for doing Minimax. Are you familiar with Minimax as a tool? You are, because I told you about it. But in terms of Minimax, what it is $5 a month, and it is a service that can take your speech and do text-to-speech. And it can take your voice and effectively make others like you. Now it's awesome because we have a tool that we built in my team that allows you to then have a tool connected to an agent that in turn will then do, as you see here, get Minimax voices, grab my voice, and then effectively do that and then build me an MP3. And if you look at my Spotify channel, it builds an MP3 podcast automatically. So therefore, for about the cost of $1 a month. Now that's pretty cool. And it uses text-to-speech to do that. Now the point of it is I can give you the tooling. It's a TypeScript SDK that we use, and subsequently if you see that, what it does is then dumps the text that it received in CMP and then builds that automatically. It's pretty damn cool actually, because if you look on Spotify, it's not me talking at all, apart from the one with Polly. Every other one is just created by this tool and this agent, which you might think that's cheating, Simon, and it is. But effectively it means that you can do that automatically. Now I implore you to give it a try. If you listen to my podcast, you'll hear that's not me talking. Now, why I'm saying this to you is because Opal's pretty damn awesome at automating this. It's tools that are used in agents, as you see here, with an appropriate payload that we then give it to upload to Spotify creators. So more to come on that, but if you want the tooling, we can share it with you. Now, one final throwaway before I go to the directory is how many of you are familiar, of course, that Opal as a feature is usable within Copilot? Only yourself, because I told you guys.
You showed me today.
I showed you today. Now, if you weren't aware, you can use Opal inside Copilot and Gemini. And it means it will then use single sign-on to use it directly inside those tools. Now, the reason I show this to you is because I'm showing you an example of something that's been done inside there. Now, why it's pretty cool is because actually, very simply, it means you can short circuit or sidestep the folks from IT who say, you can't use Opal. Oh, but you can, sir. You can use it inside Copilot or Gemini and use it to circumvent any IT barriers, where you're just single signing on into Opal. Now that's pretty cool because you can also do this within Teams. You're thinking, well, can you really do that? Is that me just using a Figma design to cheat you? I will not cheat you because I will do a search inside the directory. And as you can see here, if I do the search results for Opal, you will see the fact I click on this. This in fact can also be used inside Teams. So, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But basically, the point of it I'm coming to you here is the fact that if someone says to you, I can't use Opal because I use Copilot or Gemini, you can, because you can use it inside there. Now, a final note for all of you. I use this in all of my workshops. We have a repository for anything Opal goodness that you want to use. It's provided by us on our repo, so therefore all of that, my team contributes to this. We have dozens and dozens of instructions, read skills, specialized agents and everything else. Please take them, use them, upload them as you wish. Lots of examples we have inside there. I will not go through all of them, but that can help you accelerate how to use Opal much better. So therefore, effectively then build out lots of stuff. Read Opal, read the agentic platform, by the way. So therefore, all of that, import them as JSON files and you can use them. Bang on time, 25 minutes. Any questions, please? Was that a lot of information smashed at you in 25 minutes? Yes.
When you said you made them slides in 20 minutes, you lied, right?
No. So any questions from anybody? Does that get you excited about what we're doing with our roadmap? Pretty good? Yeah, pretty good? Okay, any questions afterwards? All good, have a drink with me. Cheers, thank you.
Okay, so welcome. I am the last talk of the night, so hopefully it isn't too excruciating. So, I don't know, because Mark wants to go down a pub. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about SaaS tonight, but a little bit about me. So my name's Andy Markham. I work at Unrivaled. Been working with Optimizely for about 15 years now, an OMVP for 6 years, 5-6 years. And I also maintain 2 modules, so due security and the ODP visitor groups. So I'm going to talk about Optimizely SaaS today. And kind of the reason I'm talking about this is I've just started my first SaaS project. And I think we've all been working with Optimizely for several years now. And you get into a routine when you start a new project. You know what you're going to do, you know what module is going to do, you know how you're going to deliver certain concepts. But when you deliver that with SaaS, you've kind of got to start again. And I think you need to remind yourselves as you're going through this, and you've got to educate the team as well, because it's not just you that's got to learn the new approach. The product owners, the BAs, they don't understand this. They're going to write down the same stories, and you need to kind of train them and the developers about, you know, what is new and what are the gotchas and how things are changing. So kind of talk about a few key areas, going from content modeling all down to development environment and search. So content modeling. So we've talked today about content modeling via MCP servers, via Opal, all these different ways. You can even do it in the UI. But I think for me, code first is basically the way we should do it. We've got the content model stored in code. It's easy to deploy to do new environments. It's part of the CI pipeline. But there are challenges with doing this. At the moment, there's a few gaps. We can't set default values through code. There's no custom property types or selection factories. So, you know, in the past, when you wanted to have some drop downs fed from, say, taxonomy or from a third-party system, that's no longer possible. And also things like custom validation. You may have created code in the past to say, you know, if someone enters this property, then they need to enter this property. None of that exists today. So what do we got to do? We've got to audit our content model up front, so we know what these limitations are. We need to make sure that the developers know what they're going to do. The product owners, they need to understand what the constraints are. We need to make sure that anything that we're designing works within all the constraints. And I think, you know, go back to Optimizely, tell them what the problems are, what we're facing, and, you know, hopefully Optimizely will listen and they'll kind of build these features in. Categorization. This is another challenge. There's no categories as of today within the CMS. So what's the solution today? An approach I've taken with my current project is to create custom blocks, and we're using these to represent a single category. I've created multiple category blocks to kind of for different kind of purposes, so a location category, a topic category. We've used a contract to define the common set of properties that should be used, and then we create shared blocks. These then represent each individual category item, and I've also made sure that we've applied access rights, so we're ensuring that only the right editors can create the categories. We're creating them as shared blocks, and we're not allowing editors to create categories inline. Go and speak to Tom, where Tom is. So I do know, I've spoken to Tom about this a few times and given him my thoughts, but there is going to be some categorization and taxonomy and tagging features that are being developed. So I don't know if you've got any more to add to that.
Yeah, so it looks like we're aiming for end of July for that first iteration to be available. And it'll be much more comprehensive than was on
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, extensibility. Now, kind of Minesh has already alluded to this. It is coming, but until it comes, it is a challenge. So all the custom modules that we use today, they don't exist. There's no way for us to build them. There's no way for a third party to build them. So what do we got to do? We've got to audit our module dependencies before the project starts. We kind of need to come up with alternative approaches for delivering things. So, you know, delivering robots.txt, we've got to have a different way of doing that. For redirects, we've got to have a different way of doing that. And we've got to accept that it's a limitation. And in reality, this is not a SaaS CMS limitation. This is kind of like, or Optimizely SaaS CMS limitation. This is a limitation really of all headless SaaS CMSs. You know, they don't kind of deliver this functionality. Some do more than others, but it's kind of what we have to live with this in the model world. But again, we view the Optimizely roadmap. We do know that from Minesh's talk that it is in the roadmap, and hopefully, you know, we'll be in a position in 6-12 months' time where we'll be able to kind of rely on third parties to kind of create these modules that we can use and build as part of our projects. Redirect management. So this is a big one. So as I just mentioned, there's no redirect UI within the CMS. So what are the options? What are the solutions? How can we deliver this feature? So I kind of pick, you know, looking at Vercel for this. So Vercel allows you to manage redirects within config or via a dashboard. There's also third-party redirect services out there. So there's kind of SaaS services that you can use to manage redirects. And that's probably a good way if you want to get the content team want to be able to manage redirects themselves. You can also hook into the event publishing pipelines or webhooks within SaaS CMS and update those redirects in those third parties if they have the APIs to support it. So considerations, we need to kind of think about who's going to own the redirects. Is that something the development team going to manage? If it is, then obviously, you know, the client needs to raise support tickets with you to actually get redirects in place, which personally I don't think is a great idea. But you may want to do that at the start of the project and then kind of come up with a solution after you go live. Or is it going to be the editor? So you have to kind of think about these when you're planning your project and then kind of build in a model that's going to be delivered going forward and agreed, and how that's going to be managed with the content teams, with the support teams, etc. XML sitemap and robots.txt. So these are other core features that we kind of get out of the box in PaaS. So what are we doing? So a solution that we've done is we're using properties within site settings to manage robots.txt. So we're managing that at the application layer. And we're also writing custom code and actually creating custom properties within the pages to manage the sitemap XML and how we generate that, so we can exclude pages, we can include pages. So again, kind of looking at Next.js, so building a route handler to actually kind of create the generation of the sitemap.
Why can't you just keep the redirects as properties as well?
Because I think performance, in my mind. For me, performance. I don't think it's performance, and I don't think it's great for probably your credits or your requests within Vercel. Yeah, because not content items, but obviously if that request comes in to you, Vercel is going to actually process that and you're going to be charged for that. Whereas if you push that up front, you're not going to be charged for it. and also I think performance. Security. This is not SaaS, CMS SaaS. This is kind of a general headless issue or challenge. So ISR caches pages at the edge, which means kind of the approaches that we would normally take, creating an end once, becomes redundant. We can't do that because it doesn't change, or the content doesn't change, and then the end once doesn't change. So kind of the standard approaches we try and take for ISRs don't work. And I had a good chat with Claude last night about this, and there's not really a lot of stuff we can do. So kind of some of the options, you know, an allow list is something really that one of the only ways that you can control this. SOI is an option, but the way that the Vercel scripts get generated, they're streaming, that doesn't work. And also Safari and I think Firefox have an issue with SOIs. So really the kind of the way that you've got to do is have allow lists and use unsafe inline. Strict dynamic doesn't work either because of the nature of needing a hash or an SOI or an end once. So really, if you've got areas of the site the way your security is really, really important, you know, you go into a payment flow or something like that, then really that's where you've got to do the SSR and use that once.
One suggestion, what I've done in Cloudflare is I have a build trigger that builds my front end, and then after the build it scans all the JavaScript files to build a hash, and then it builds me a header of all the hashes from that build, and then that gets deployed at the same time. So the hashes are computed after the build, so they don't change.
Yeah.
So that works if you pre-compile all the JavaScript at the time of release, but if there's anything dynamic.
So if you would, so that would work if you were using SSR in Vercel and Next.js, then yes, the SOI and the hashes can be calculated then. But if you're doing ISR, then there's kind of, with the way that it gets reevaluated, there's kind of a timing issue, and because of streaming, the JavaScript from Vercel is being streamed, it gets out of sync, so it does break. So yeah, I mean, kind of like, I was just interested in what other approaches people are using, so I think we kind of covered that. Development environment. So with PaaS, we develop on our local machines. We should be using a development find index if we are using find. I think, looking at you, Simon, here, you get a developer graph index, don't you, for PaaS builds?
You can request as well.
Say again?
You can request one through the portal as well.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I put it there.
Okay. But for SaaS, there's no dedicated dev environment. So this means that test one is shared for QA and for dev resource, which we're finding at times we're getting content modeling clashes. And also content migration flow. So we quite often, we would use PaaS Portal to push databases up from test one or QA to integration. So integration to pre-production or pre-production to production, or more commonly production down to integration or to pre-production. There's no way that you can do that, I believe, in SaaS at the moment. So, you know, you're kind of looking at probably doing export imports, which can take a bit of time. Also, you've got to think about performance and cost, so ISR versus SSR. So ISR gives you the incremental changes, so when content is changed within the CMS, it will get reflected straight away on the website. Static doesn't do that, but it gives you better performance. It also means that the costs are lower. So it's something that you need to factor in. And also kind of like languages. So this is language, fallback languages in SaaS has recently been made available. It works really, really well, I think. You just configure it, and basically when you do a graph query, it will give you the language you request, and if there's no language support, it gives you the fallback language, which I think is great. One thing I find a bit weird is when you configure a site within SaaS, it's either a single language or all the languages. You can't configure a site to be for 2 languages, for example. But you just kind of need to control that probably in your code, and that's what we're going to be doing. Is we're having config to control the language that we want to make available for specific sites.
I've not encountered that.
Say again?
I've not seen that. When app and then host names, you can do multiple languages there. Yeah, you can.
Can you? All I can see, all I've been able to do is.
You can choose the host name, the applications and the settings. You can choose.
On the left go host names.
Well, you can choose multiple languages. Okay. Okay. I've improved mine. Sorry. Hey? I've completely missed that then. Sorry.
We might be speaking a different language. We can.
Yeah.
Give it a go.
Speak more languages.
Okay.
I was about to say that.
And schedule jobs, we're not able to create custom schedule jobs. Kind of looking at search, so it is possible to do tracking with graph. I haven't quite worked out how to do it yet. There's no documentation at the moment, so I just need to reverse engineer. Yeah, there's an API. There's no documentation about how you kind of implement it. So there's a track. You can tell it what you want to track, the term, and then there's another. It gives you a URL when you can put the track flag on there.
I think it might be a feature flag.
We've got some documentation on that. Ping rem
Okay. Is that going to be on the? Can we have that on the website? It'd be handy.
And you might have blog posts.
It's available.
Yeah. Anyway, but more importantly, you can do it. We now have a UI to manage synonyms, pin results, and also to view the statistics, which is pretty cool. Content modeling considerations. So understand queryable and searchable field differences because these affect search relevance. So you should design your model accordingly. So queryable, when you mark a property as queryable, it basically means you can, it gets indexed and you can query it, filter it by it, and facet by it, but it's not part of full text search. When it's searchable, it's part of full text search. So when you're doing your content models, if you've got, say, labels that are on the page, if you've got promo boxes that are on the page, in my opinion, it's probably better to make those queryable rather than searchable, so you're not kind of putting rubbish into the full text search. So when you are doing a search, you're kind of looking at the text that's relevant, not just random words in there.
Apart from pissing off Optimizely, why not just make everything searchable?
Because of what I've just said.
There's no effect to you, it's still cached.
It's not about impacting Optimizely and putting more text in the full text search. It's about relevance. So if you've got labels such as, say, call me, and you've got that on every single page of the site, and someone does a search for call me, it's going to bring back every single page of the site. Whereas whereas it wouldn't bring back the page that says about contact us, yeah. So if you put relevant if you ensure that your search or the full text search has got relevant content in there, it's going to make your search results better. So it's my personal opinion, but I think there's no point in having a promo box.
It is cleanups doing the attributes.
Yeah. Okay, so short and quick, but I think kind of going back to my first point, when you're starting your first SaaS project, I think it's really important that you think about, don't think of it as doing a past project. Think of it, you need to think about it as if you're doing a new solution for the first time. Think about your content modeling, think about the features that you use every day when you're delivering a PaaS delivery and making sure that they're available and making sure that the content modeling that you want to do, you can do within SaaS. Okay. Any questions?
Did that client have an option to go pass?
No. Well, I don't know.
I like that.
I don't know. I wasn't part of the sales.
You passed on that.
No.
That's sassy.
Okay. Thank you very much.